straight week. They play Arizona. Doug Peterson also spoke yesterday about the freedom that Hurts was provided in the offense compared to Carson Wentz. Listen to this.
It's one of the things that I really appreciate about Carson is I want him to have control. I want him to have the ability to get us in and out of bad plays. We've given him that freedom. So yesterday, our mindset going into the game was, just Jalen, just run the offense, right? We didn't give him a lot of freedom in this game.
Possible that you've given him too much freedom?
I don't think so. I think that goes with any quarterback around the league. I just don't think it's with Carson, but I think it's any starter that is play callers and play designers that you give these guys too much on their plate. And you got to be careful there. There is a fine line.
All right, so let me bring Dan Graziano in for the first time this morning. Graz, what are we hearing coming out of the building right now about the way they're looking at this thing short-term and long?
Short-term, look, it's going to be Hurts, as they announced yesterday, and it was not a hard decision. Obviously, they looked a lot better and a lot different on Sunday with Hurts than they have at any point recently with Wentz. So they're trying to win games. They're not out of it yet in the NFC East, and they wanted a spark, and he gave them one. So that's the short-term answer, and unless he's awful or gets injured, I would imagine he starts the rest of the year. Long-term, boy, oh boy, we've been talking about this for a while. Carson Wentz's contract does lock him in. Very difficult contract to escape, even via trade, because you have to get somebody to take on big money for a guy who's been struggling. A lot of questions going into the offseason about Wentz's future there, about Doug Peterson's future there. If everyone comes back next year, do you have a competition between Wentz and Hurts and then end up paying potentially Carson Wentz starter money to be your backup? A lot to sort out at that position for the Eagles, but right now, short term, they're trying to win games. They think Jalen Hurts gives them the best chance based on what they saw Sunday.
All right, Greg, let me come to you because you did some homework yesterday. Got a tape on this one as well. Show us what you saw from Jalen Hurts on Sunday and what you think it means.
Well, while the passing game was rather elementary, Jalen Hurts, what he provides with his legs and the presence he has in the backfield, he's the guy that gives them by far the best chance to win right now. Here's the zone read, okay? Notice the time, 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Zone read and the line of scrimmage backed up. The defensive end just squeezes ever so slightly, which gives Jalen the green light, and there he goes out the gate. 16-yard gain changes it. This is 13 seconds later, by the way. All right, 13 seconds later. Zone read the other way. Look at the presence it has from the linebackers. They both follow Jalen Hurts, take bad steps, which guess what? Opens up a huge hole. Play side, and Miles Sanders takes the distance. I love this play, too. This is pressure. They're going to try to heat up a young quarterback. Jalen Hurts says, you know what? I know Alshon Jeffrey is a big, strong guy that can't run past anyone. So what am I going to do? I'm going to buy a little time, and I'm going to throw a little jump ball so my big body, strong wide receiver can wall off a defender and potentially secure the touchdown on fourth down. Now, that was his best throw of the day. I didn't think he threw it great. They didn't ask him to. A lot of his throws were at or near the line of scrimmage, and it was very pedestrian. But his presence in the backfield and the way he uses his legs will make everyone else on the offense better at this point in time.
All right, so I always love to get you have a great knack of sort of encapsulating the entire situation. How would you put into your words what we have right now in Philadelphia with Wentz, with Hurts, and everything else?
Jalen Hurts is the fly in the ointment in Philly. And I know the conversation has been going on about what the future would look like, but the future don't have no damn staple right now. When you look at what Carson Wentz has done and how he's played, and then you put Jalen Hurts up against who was the #1 defense in the league, and he plays and performs at a high level and creates some things. Listen, G, this is the second time now we're having this conversation in Philly about a backup quarterback coming in and operating in this offense better since Carson Wentz MVP year. So there's an issue. And look, we can try to hide it, and we talk about the money, and that's justifiably so. We all know that when you have a player on your team that's making a crazy amount of money, the responsibility goes to seeing if he can play or recreate that. Everybody knows that. But I'm telling you right now, based on Jalen Hurts' history, the things that he's been through, the jobs that have been taken away from him, and the ability to bounce back, this is not going to be easy for Carson Wentz to just come back and immediately think he's going to be the starter once they get into the offseason. Jalen Hurts is literally planted in the conversation for being the Philadelphia Eagles starter moving forward. The fly in the ointment, G, and they did not plan on this happening.
I hear you. And listen, that figures to be the most interesting team to follow through the rest of the season and into the meaty part of the offseason. Meanwhile, Graziano, let's run the hurry up. There's a lot of other notes we need to get to, and let's start in Washington. What is the latest with Alex Smith?
Alex Smith injured his calf in Sunday's game. They're evaluating it. They've run tests on it. The key will be to see how much he can practice and how he moves around in practice. Obviously, his status for next weekend's game is in question until they see how the calf responds here in the next couple of days and how much he can do in practice. We're going to sound like a broken record here on these quarterback injury issues. Matthew Stafford of the Lions suffered an injury to his rib cage area on Sunday. Again, they're not concerned about fractures. The x-rays came back negative, but they don't know how much work he's going to be able to do in practice. Stafford, a guy who's played through a lot of pain and a lot of injury in his career. Obviously, you can't rule him out for this weekend, but they still, as we sit here right now, are not entirely sure. And then Drew Brees has missed the last 4 games for the New Orleans Saints with ribcage injuries of his own, 11 rib fractures as detailed by our Ed Werder. Brees is a guy that's eligible to come off of IR, was this past week, but the Saints are going to be cautious with him. They still don't have a plan for whether and how much he will practice this week. And of course, unless we see him on the practice field looking good and looking comfortable, he probably misses at least 1 more game.
And that game this weekend is against...
Superman was on the other damn side of the field.
Yeah, he left 64 seconds on the clock. Greg, I know you'll have some tape on Baker for us a little bit later, but it feels like every game he plays is a referendum on literally his entire career. Last night was a positive, right? I mean, last night feels to me like it was a big win for Baker Mayfield.
Greeny, I think it's the best I've ever seen him look. The first half, obviously a couple weeks ago, was pretty remarkable, 4 first-half touchdown passes. But last night with the game on the line, after experiencing the adversity of throwing a pick that put your own defense on their own 1-yard line, he bounced back 3 touchdowns after the interception, 1 with his legs, 2 through the air, and he was 11 of 14 for 150 yards. He was accurate. He was decisive. He didn't force the issue, and he took what the defense gave him. In a 2-minute drill, so many young quarterbacks, man, I want to push the ball down the field. No, you saw soft coverage. Hey, man, I'm going to let my matchups work for me. And it was really, I thought it was a mature effort from Baker Mayfield, something that he can build on. And I think he probably grew by leaps and bounds as far as confidence is concerned and can build on that in the weeks to come down the home stretch and hopefully for the Browns in the playoffs.
So, Jeff, for a team that has been just dominated by Baltimore over the years, and including of game 1 this season, any semblance that last night feels like a moral victory to you?
I'm not about the moral victories, Greeny. Like I like what these guys are saying, but they still got beat. You know what I mean? So as well as he played, he still throws a pick that leads to 7 points, and he can't get up the. Who do they beat in their division? The Bengals. They don't beat the Steelers. They don't beat the Ravens. Like, we got problems. Listen, as important as the game was for Lamar Jackson last night to win, it's equally as important that Baker Mayfield beats the Steelers at the end of the season. He has to put a signature victory on. As well as they played, they still lost. And last time I checked, that's how we evaluate wins and losses.
Okay, we will talk much more about this. Obviously, we will have tons on this game as the day goes. And we have a poll question up for you as well today. And it's very simple.